the bag, this particular one, I can use inside out. I can reverse it. I can use it like this if I want to kind of do this. Just looks like a completely different bag. Like this, kind of like folded. Welcome back, family, friends, and fans. It is Karma Lately. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Today, we're going to do something that we've never done on the channel. I made these bags. And the reason that I made these bags is because I was looking online. I didn't want leather, but I wanted to have a designer look, a designer vibe. And so with this bag, and I'm gonna give you guys the measurements of each bag, and then we're gonna do one today together, so you guys know how to do it and everything. So first I'm going to start with this one. This is the first one that I did. This one is mine. I wanted something that was big but not too big, and I wanted it to be I wanted it to have canvas. This particular canvas is duck canvas, so it's very thick. It's a heavy duck canvas. It's thick, and I really wanted canvas because I want to paint my bag. Now, I don't know exactly how I'm going to paint it. You guys are going to see that in part 2, but I am looking forward to customizing the bag so that it is unique to me. Another thing that I did was the handles I made, and I'll tell you all the materials that I used, but these handles, I used a special stitching. I used stitch number 74 on my sewing machine, the Brother XR3340. So that was the number 74, and I used it also on the handle, on this handle. So it's this 74 stitch and then the 0 straight stitch, and that's what I did for both. Now, actually, since I'm already talking about the handles, let's I'm gonna show you guys what materials I used for the handles. For this one, I did the heart stitch, which is stitch number 76, and I did it on both sides. This bag is for my daughter, and she also has the long handles here. So I'm gonna put this to the side for a minute so I can show you guys some of the tools that I think you should have on deck if you're gonna do a project like this one. Let's start with your cutting mat, whatever cutting mat you have. I have this cutting mat a couple of years, so it's gone through a lot of paint and sewing and cuts and all of that, but it's still my handy dandy cutting mat. Some of you might recognize this basket. I made this on this channel, so if you want to make it yourself as well, you can just I'm gonna put the link so you guys can make this as well. So you're gonna need some scissors, and you should have a rotary cutter. For a project like this, precision is really, really important. You want to make sure that all the pieces align and all the pieces are, you know, the exact same size. And something that I use this big clear ruler. I still have not perfected it, but I'm working on making sure that my fabric pieces are a lot straighter. So we've got these tools, and then you have So what I've been using for my handles, I actually bought this for my bookbinding. This is Bookbinder's tape, and it's not actual tape. It doesn't have any glue or anything like that. It doesn't have any adhesive. What it is basically like just a very well bound strip that doesn't come undone. And this strip, what I've been doing is doubling it up. And so for my long strap, this is for my daughter who's taller, so I'm making her strap about 53 inches long, and I doubled it up. But you can use whatever you guys have on hand. I like using this Bookbinders. It looks like canvas as well, so it matches perfectly with my bags. So I use this, I double it up, I put pins all throughout, spacing them out, and then I put it on the sewing machine. It is a little challenging, and you want to make sure everything is aligned perfectly before you start sewing. And I go through one side, whatever design I want, and then I go through the other side, making sure that both sides are perfectly both sides, not perfectly, but making sure that both sides have the stitching, because that stitching is going to secure the doubling that we're doing with this. And it also gives it a nice like thickness to it, an extra thickness. So I do that for the long one. Now for the short one, I like it to be even sturdier. So I sandwich two pieces with duck, the very stiff, thick duck canvas. I sandwich two of my bookbinding tape pieces. So I try to cut it perfectly. And then I do the same thing. I'll start pinning it once it's aligned perfectly, and then keep going and start doing the stitching, which you can see here for the handles. The handles just end up feeling a lot thicker, a lot sturdier. So I have those pieces that I'm working on. I like to use this. This one's all beat up, but it's my watch. This is my sewing watch, and I put my clips on top of the needles, which is funny. But I got my sewing watch. I have some more chalk. And then this is just an extra tape measure that I use sometimes, but I'm not using that one right now. I just like to use my handy dandy long one. So your measuring tape. I have my iron. It's on. Also just wanted to show you guys the bag. The bag, this particular one, I can use inside out. I can reverse it. So the lining, I can use it like this if I want to. I also think it's cute to kind of do this. Just looks like a completely different bag. And then also can use the bag like this, kind of like folded. Can also put these in. Put these inside. And now you can use the bag like this. Remember, it's empty, so that's why it looks like that. Now, I have these D-rings. I don't have the ones where you can take it out, where you have the latch, so you can take this out and then it's removable. I don't have that, but as soon as I purchase it, then I'll cut this off and redo it and make it removable. For now, it's permanent. But I really like my bag and I'm going to personalize it first chance I get. And then this one is my daughter's because she wanted a smaller one. Hers is not reversible because I made a couple of mistakes in there, but we're not going to show you guys that. It could have been reversible had I not made those mistakes, but happens, right? But I like them. I think they're cute and they do look designer. And once we customize them, they're going to even look more designer. I almost forgot to tell you guys the materials that I used. So the outside is duck canvas. These are the bookbinding strips, the bookbinder's tape. And the inside is chiffon, and this was from my daughter's 316. I purchased nothing to make these bags. I'm just using materials that I already have at home. But if you don't have these, then you can obviously purchase them or alternate materials. For example, these D-rings, you can make a D-ring with a strip of fabric and just make it into a D, and you can put stuff through it and then sew it into the bag. Like, you can use the stuff that you have at home. So that's what I used for this one. This one is not duck canvas. This is just regular raw plain canvas, and so it's lighter. And the inside is also the leftover chiffon from my daughter's 316. So the sizes, sorry, I keep taking them out and I need to bring them back. So the sizes are, for this one I did, so this was 18 long. That's why it's longer than it is wider, because I'm bugging. So it was 18 inches long and 15 inches wide. That's what the size was that I cut it. And remember, it's going to be shorter than that on all sides once you sew. So make sure that if you want it to be 15 by 18 once after you sew, like after everything is said and done, you want it to be 15 wide and 18 long, then you should make it about 17 inches wide and then 20 inches long. When you sew everything, then it'll be the 15 by 18 that you want. For this one, it was 12 inches wide and 9 inches long, 9 inches high. For the handles, it's 45 long for the long one, 45 inches long. And this is about, I'll tell you right now, this is about 3/4 of an inch wide. And then for this one, it is 16 inches long and the same width. It's the 3/4 of an inch wide. So now you have the handle measurements and the bag sizes. For my daughter here, let me see how these ended up. This ended up 12 inches wide and about 8.5 inches high. She did want a smaller bag, so it works out for her. So these two canvas pieces are going to be the inner part, the inner lining of my daughter's bag, because for her, she did not want, she wants her bag to be black. So if she wants to customize this and make it black, or she wants to put designs on it, whatever she wants to do, she can do. But this is going to be her inner lining. And it's regular raw canvas. It's not the duck canvas, which is thicker, but I'm okay with this as her inner lining. It's thick enough for me. For the outer part, I actually have to cut this. And this is tricky. This is stretch fabric, so good luck to me. So this is going to be the outer part, and I'm going to line it because, you know, with designer bags, The beauty of a designer bag is that thickness that it has to it. It doesn't feel flimsy. It doesn't feel like it's gonna get destroyed in a week. It's got a sturdiness to it, and leather does that for you. Calfskin does that for you. Suede does that. In this case, we're trying not to use any of those fabrics. So I'm gonna use this felt that is already pre-cut to the right size, and I'm gonna use it to cut this. I need 2 pieces, so I'm gonna fold the fabric in half here. It rolls up at the end, so it does get tricky. I'm gonna roll it on top of the edge. Good. So this will be the outside of the bag, and it'll be nice and sturdy. This will be the inside of the bag. And I guess we can get started with the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mark 2 inches in from each corner, but it's gonna be a 2-inch square. So I'm actually gonna use the felt as my guide, since the felt is a little more reliable. So it's gonna be 2 inches from the bottom and 2 inches from the top. So you're gonna make a perfect square, basically a 2-inch block, and I can see it with these boxes here. This is 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, so 2 inches all around the corner approximately. Don't know why this doesn't look straight to me. I really want this to look straight. No. Okay, good. Then I'm going to secure this corner here. If you have fusible fleece, you don't have to worry about that. Okay. And now I'm going to cut. And I'm actually going to use this one as my guide. I'm gonna trust this piece because this is the piece that I cut the fabric with. So it'll at least be accurate on all parts, even if it wasn't cut perfectly. I'm gonna show you what needs to get done. We are only going to sew. This is for the exterior piece. I'm gonna mark the areas that you're going to sew. Understanding that this is the top of the bag. So this is the top, sorry, my arrow. This is the top of the bag. We're not touching the top. You're gonna sew the 2 sides and you're going to sew the bottom. Now, this is true only for these two exterior pieces. For the interior pieces, you're going to sew not the top, you're going to sew the sides. This is the top. You do not sew on the top, the sides. And then on the bottom, you're going to leave a gap. So you're going to sew here and then back stitch and stop. You should be back stitching everywhere on the bag. As soon as you start and as soon as you end any seam, any stitch, you should be back stitching. It's really important because you want your bag to be, if you want it to be like a designer bag, then you want it to be durable. And so these back stitches are going to make it really durable. Okay, so let's measure the bottom. 8 inches, right? I guess we should sew 2.5 inches in. And that leaves us with 1, 2, 3 inches open. You know what? Sew 2 inches in. I can take this out because this is chalk. But yeah, sew 2 inches in. Don't sew 2.5. Just sew 2 inches in and then stop. So mark it at 2 inches. Because two. Wait. Sorry, 2. So those are the indicators, and that at least leaves us with a 4-inch opening that we can turn out the fabric. So that's really important. I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to sew with you guys so you can see everything as it's happening. These bags are pretty easy to make. I just think it's all about the materials that we're using. If we can make them sustainable while at the same time sturdy, then I think we're in the money here. This is the top of the fabric. This is the pretty side, or the right side of the fabric. And I have to put both pretty sides facing each other. I can just repin it. I'm gonna be back stitching here, here. Every time I stop, I'm gonna back stitch. Some of this didn't go as I planned it. The seam allowance kind of went in on it. I just want to see how it looks and then I'll put it back because I just don't want it to be weird. All right. So if you guys don't have a fabric that is as thick as mine, you can go ahead and start opening up your seams and press them down with your iron. So now what we're gonna do is you're going to take these two, making sure that you have everything aligned properly. You're gonna take this, you can pin it down if you need to. In my case, I'm gonna try to sew down the seams. I'm gonna try my best. So I am going to pin it down, or actually I'm gonna clip it right there. And my goal, let me see, maybe if I pin it down here. My goal is to get that seam pressed down with the stitches. All right. Now I'm going to sew across. And there I press down the seam. Now I'm gonna do the same on the other side. I'm going to grab everything and align it all nicely. And the two middle seams should be perfectly aligned, as perfectly as you can get them. I'm gonna press it down. Okay. All right. Take it to the machine. I ended up doing about 1/4 inch. Now we're gonna take this, we're gonna open it up. I'm sorry, we're gonna turn it inside out. Get those corners out as best as you can. Look at that. And now I have the outside of the bag. What I'm gonna do now is my handles. I'm gonna show you how I do one, and then I'll do the other one off camera. I'm just gonna align all of my strips nicely. I'm not such a stickler when it comes to art. It's interesting. I'm more of a stickler when it comes to my music. But when it comes to art, I allow myself to be free to make mistakes, and it is what it is, you know. So for this one, I'm going to do the stitch 74 again on one side. So I'm just going to choose 7. I'm not changing my presser foot. I'm leaving the stitching as it is. This is how it turned out. Not too bad. And now I just want to secure this side, so I'm just going to do a simple straight stitch on this side. All right, so here are my handles. Here are the short ones, the 16-inch ones. Here are the 16-inch ones. They're nice and sturdy, just like I like them. And I think the design is cute. I like using the special stitches because it sets my bag apart from anybody else's bag. There's a million canvas bags out there, but none of them are gonna look exactly like mine because of whatever special thing I'm doing to it. Okay, and then this is the long one, the 53-inch. That's for the long one. Now, what we're gonna do, I see I'm gonna have to pull this up a bit. But now what we're gonna do, we're gonna find the middle of the bag. That would be funny if the middle is where the arrow is, but anyway. Just gonna fold it in half. Okay. Okay. Almost. Actually, It's right in the middle. Oh my God, that's awesome. So just gonna keep the line going. That is the middle. I'm gonna find the middle on the other side of my bag. Okay, so there is the middle. And now I'm just gonna measure 2.5 inches to the right. Keeping it, and I measured it on the other side. And 2.5 inches to the left. Yep. Now I measured it on both sides. So we're going to take our short ones and we're going to place them like so. Right on. I basically put the strap and I lined the dot right in the center of this, and that's how I place it. So another thing to keep in mind is if the design is on the inner part or the outer part, make sure that it's the same on both sides. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this piece of my machine just so that it's easier for me to place this here and sew down. I made a mistake. This has to be a straight stitch. I forgot to change the machine, so don't forget to do that. I'm trying to really do about 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm only sewing the handle. I'm not going all the way down. Now we're gonna leave this bag as it is, and we're gonna set it off to the side. And we're gonna get our inner lining, and we're gonna sew where we discussed that we would sew. Sides, and then 2 inches in, stop, back stitch, 2 inches in. You should be back stitching anyway. All right. All right. Okay. Now we're gonna do the same thing we did earlier. And I hope I didn't mess up this seam. Oh, looks like I did, but it's fine. I can flatten this down. I'll just do one the opposite way and one the other way. If you feel like you need to put pins or clips, do so. 99% of the time I should. And we're gonna get this corner. Now gonna get your outer part. You're gonna get your outer part and you're going to put it inside of this. You want to make sure it is nicely aligned. And you also want to make sure that these straps are inside, tucked in nicely. You want to make sure this seam aligns with this seam. And then you're going to start pinning all the way around. Ooh, this one is outside. So I am going to start with some clips. So now I feel comfortable. I am going to sew all the way around. I'm going to be coming up on a handle right here. You can kind of see it. I want to make sure it's straight, and I'm going to back stitch on that handle. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Okay. Now, here's your opening that you left earlier. That's why it's so important to back stitch here, especially if the opening is 4 inches. Ideally, I would have liked 5, but this is what it is. So I'm going to start with one corner, and then gently I'm going to start feeding the next corner, pulling firmly but gently. There we are. Whew, okay. We did it. Now what I'm gonna do really quickly, I'm just going to stitch this down. I'm gonna fold it. Maybe I should press it down. I'm gonna get a different color stitching for the top of this. I'm gonna use this like cream colored, because I could have used white. Well, this is like a off. Yeah, I'm gonna use this one. So plan B, since I didn't like the way this bottom thread came out, I'm gonna just sew on top of it to make it more intentional and make it a zigzag stitch. That looks a little more intentional. All right. I just didn't like the way that came out before. It was like a little too rugged, and if she's gonna use this inside out, she's gonna use it reversibly, then it shouldn't be like so rugged, in my opinion. So that's how that came out. And now we're going to put this inside. And for this, really, you can do this with your hand. You just got to make sure you're pressing it down. I'm not gonna pin it all the way. I'm just gonna keep folding it in as I go. I'm gonna start on the handle here, and I have to change my top thread. I'm gonna use the brown. Now it's not as straight as I would have liked it. That's something that I struggle with. I want to put the long straps, but I'm gonna put them from this angle. Put the long straps on this angle. And if you don't have D-rings, you can legitimately just use whatever you have. I am going to cut 2 strips, same size. And I'm going to put them, measure 2 inches from the bottom. I'm sorry, 2 inches from the top. Measure again, 2 inches from the top. And now I'm just gonna sew. I'm just gonna sew the edges. Make sure I don't have anything caught underneath. Just one side, and then that is the other side. I'm gonna do the same thing for this side here. I'm gonna take one of my straps and I actually like this better than the D. I like this better than the D-ring. And then I'm going to take this to the machine. Then going to make sure this is straight, and I'm going to insert it through here like I did the other one, and sew. This is how it looks inside out, and this is how it looks. Well, this is how the right way looks, and this is going to come out. That's chalk. So the more you do it, the more you'll start seeing what you want in your bag. And this way, if you don't want these handles, put it like that. You can just carry your bag like this, or you can keep these in, carry your bag with the handles inside. And I'm thinking of maybe putting some Velcro here, just so that the bags can close like that. But I don't want, well, we'll see. But yeah, that is how I made these bags, and I hope that you guys like them. If you're new like I am, with a little practice you'll you'll get it right. And I still need more practice because I want to perfect these. Now for part 2, I am going to decorate mine. The girls are going to personalize their own. And so in the next video, in the part 2 of this one, I don't know if that's following the next video that I post, but in the part 2 of this one, I am going to show you guys mine and the girls what they decide to do to personalize their bag. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to try it, let me know. If you've tried it already, please send me pictures. But yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will definitely catch you guys on the next one.